In this video, I am going to go deeper into the famous SATS, which stands for state akin to sleep. It's a term coined by Neville Goddard, but it's a state actually used in conscious manifesting, not just by Neville Goddard. A lot of spiritual teachers talk about it. This is also the famous meditative state, but I'm going to talk about why it's so important in conscious manifesting and hopefully encourage you and inspire you to use it. It's not exactly a technique, it's more of a period, it's a time, it's a state, which I guess can be called a technique. It can maybe be used as a technique. It actually doesn't matter how you call it, what you call it. So this is going to be a follow-up video to my last video where I actually talked about manifestation techniques that I have used and seen lots of benefits of, techniques that I know work. So if you haven't checked that video, I highly recommend to check that out. In that video, I am also explaining how to know if a manifestation technique is working and why. So especially for those of you who are new to manifestation, and I know that many of my viewers are very new to manifestation, and I would like you to tell me if there are things that you still struggle with understanding, if some things still are a mystery to you. Let me know in the comments below so that I know what to mention in the videos. I would really like to help you out, and the whole point of my channel is to keep manifestation simple and practical so that everyone can benefit from it. So let's talk about SATS, the state akin to sleep. In order to understand the importance of SATS, it is important to understand the dynamics between the conscious and the subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is everything you are conscious of, but not only. Your conscious mind is that part where you think thoughts, where you analyze, where it's also on autopilot, because it is first of all very connected to the subconscious. But the conscious mind is connected. Of course it is connected. It's two parts of the same mind. The conscious mind is the mind that analyzes, that is capable of rejecting an idea. The subconscious mind is not analyzing, it's not judging, it's not doing everything the conscious mind is doing. It's accepting things as true. The things that are accepted as true are mostly the things that the conscious mind repeats or hears on a repeat and believes to be true. And the times where we just take stuff as facts because an authority says it. For example, the things that you've heard over and over again on TV, in your religious institutions, where we take the person as an authority and take everything they say as facts. This is also true for people who are dealing with doctors. If a doctor says something, for example, comes with a bad news, and we know that the doctor is authority, they know better, etc. We take that as facts, and now it's an assumption, and now it's manifesting. Otherwise, mostly the things sink into the subconscious through repetition. Also through strong feeling of something. Like, for example, when you're scared of something, or the opposite is also true. So, but the conscious mind mostly thinks thoughts that are already in the subconscious, which means it sort of goes both ways in the sense that your mind is programmable. Your mind cannot not be programmed. It is programmed. It just depends on what programming is in it. So on one hand, you program your mind by consciously thinking thoughts until it seeps into the subconscious and is accepted as true, and then it becomes your truth. And on the other hand, whatever is in your subconscious is creating your judgments, your analytical mind, your right and wrongs in your conscious mind. So, for example, if I told someone who doesn't know manifesting that you can lose weight by eating cakes, if you assume that to be true, they are immediately going to reject it because the subconscious mind is programmed by different beliefs, right? So in that case, they are interconnected, and one sort of depends on the other. Now, why is this important to understand in SATS? That is because when you are awake and you still, when you are manifesting, you still have to do the work even when you are awake, because your mind doesn't stop thinking ever. It continues thinking and imagining. So you need to be aware of what's going on in there so that you can stop the negative process and guide it towards the positive. And we can't always do this, but the more aware you are, the better control you have over your imagination. When you are awake, your conscious mind is awake. Your subconscious is also awake, but when your conscious mind is awake, that's when the negative chatter happens. That's when the judgments happen. And by judgments, I mean, for example, when people want something big and the conscious mind immediately goes, that's too much for you. You can't have that. Why would you be able to make all that money? Or why would you ever be able to lose weight easily? Or why would that person love you? You are overweight, you are this, you are that. That's your conscious mind judging your desire. The subconscious mind doesn't do that. It doesn't care. Even if you were manifesting hurting yourself, your subconscious mind would manifest it, because it's not analyzing. It's like, whatever you give to me, I'll give to you. That's the job of the subconscious mind. Now, when you are in SATS, which is the state akin to sleep, which is the few minutes right before you fall asleep, it's when you are lying in bed and trying to fall asleep. The time where you know that you're about to fall asleep, but you're still awake. That's it. Where you are so asleep that you're too tired to contradict your own imagination, for example. That is what we are after. Because in that state, and when you're asleep, your conscious mind falls asleep. Your subconscious is awake, whether you are physically awake or asleep. Your subconscious is always awake. That is why in that period when you are sleepy, it's probably the simplest way to describe it, that you're sleepy. Your conscious mind is too tired to contradict you when you affirm those beautiful things about yourself, that you are losing weight easily, or you have already naturally lost weight and you are naturally looking like that, or gained weight, or become healthy, or in that beautiful relationship, or making that amount of money, or whatever it is you are manifesting. Your conscious is simply too tired to argue with you. That is why it is so much easier for your subconscious mind to get it. It still needs repetition, though. You still repeat it until you fall asleep, and you may need to repeat it night after night after night. But if you try this, if you haven't already, you will notice that it goes quicker. It goes quicker because this negative chatter from your conscious mind and the analytical mind is not there to contradict you, so there's not much back and forth going on until, I don't know, one of you gives up. Because that is what happens with a lot of people. That at some point it feels too hard, it feels too impossible to change. And that also makes it look impossible for the 3D to change. So we get into this negative loop of can't be done. But not to say that you can't manifest by affirming or imagining or doing whatever you're doing while awake. It works. It still works. It's just quicker and easier and with less effort. Probably I would say effortless when you're in SATS, because you're relaxed, your mind is relaxed, and you are in your imagination doing your thing, falling asleep to it, and it creates the state if you're focused. Because I am not so much for doing things mindlessly, because I think it is my experience that focus works, and it works quicker because it changes the state. Now, if you are all about robotic affirmations and it works for you, go for it. That's not my thing. This is not the channel where I teach stuff like that, because I personally don't, it's not that I don't believe in it. I do believe it works. It's just, in my experience, it takes more work. But sometimes it's needed, sometimes when your mind just can't stop with the negative, going with robotic affirmations and keeping your mind constantly preoccupied with your new belief so that you don't give it time to think the negative, that can be a good solution. SATS is just making things easier and quicker. And also, when I am constantly manifesting several things at once, but the most important manifestation I always keep for the nighttime, the SATS time, because that's where the less effort happens, and that's where I don't have the negative story going on, and I don't have to fight thoughts. It's just effortless. It's flowing. Not to say that that's the only time that you can do it. There are a lot of people who love taking naps during the day. That's an extra time you have of SATS. There's the time where you wake up where you're still sleepy, but for me, in my experience, this is a personal thing, it's not really the same. Falling asleep to it or doing it while actually waking up, going in that other direction. But you are still in that sleepy state, so that is also a great time for you to do this. Now, why did I say that this was a follow-up to the last video? And I was also about to say that SATS is not a technique, but we could actually take it as technique, probably the best one. But it's something that is going to be put together with something else. So, in my last videos, I mentioned different techniques, manifestation techniques that I use on a consistent basis. SATS is where you choose one of those techniques that you do while in that state. And it doesn't matter which it is. You know that I always mention, or not always, but often mention Joseph Murphy and Neville Goddard. In the manifestation community, Neville Goddard is sort of known as this visualization guy, and Joseph Murphy is known as this affirmations guy. He calls them prayers, but they're just affirmations. Neville Goddard, for those of you who don't know, is not just about visualizations. He has talked about everything that there is to talk about manifestation. He has lectures where he talks about affirming thoughts, affirming things over and over and over again. And this is why I don't understand when people who are teaching Neville Goddard have started to say affirmations don't work. Affirmations do work. They work. And you know that too. I know that a lot of you have affirmed a lot of things through affirming. So, and Neville Goddard talks about the 5 senses and imagination also. The visualization, he's very big on visualization, but inner conversations is one of Neville Goddard's big things. Inner conversations, the telephone technique where you talk to someone or hear someone's voice telling you something. The taste, the smell, the touch, that whatever you need to do in order to make the imaginal act natural to you, plus thoughts. So all those things can be done in SATS. I have, for example, had I remember one specific client that I was working with who couldn't visualize, but she liked affirming in SATS, and I have had several clients who have done that. And affirming is the simplest thing that you can do, because visualization and the use of other senses in imagination can sometimes, not necessarily, but can require some training, skill to just understand how to make it. I was about to say precise, but it's not even about that. How to make it be natural, how to make it stop being work, for example. But with your thoughts, you only need to decide a sentence that means that your manifestation is already done, and to repeat that thought till you fall asleep. The thought is probably the simplest thing to work with that everyone can do, even if you can't visualize or can't hear voices or can't use your other senses in imagination. You know what you can do. But the thoughts, you can. You can think a thought on purpose. And you can do this even when there's negative chatter. So choose your favorite technique, your favorite method, and do that in SATS. That is going to up the game. And this is probably the most powerful thing that you can do if you want to. If you feel like you can't concentrate, like this is too hard, it's too much, or you feel or you think that you're not good at it, don't worry. This is about training yourself. Repeat it. Have patience with yourself. Don't jump to conclusions that you can't do something, because that's only an assumption. And keep practicing. Do it during the day also. If you're meditating, if you're taking naps, but when you're falling asleep every night. So even if you didn't do other things, even if when you're busy, for those people out there who are so busy during the day that they can't really focus on a thought or sit and imagine, the time you fall asleep is the time where you're falling asleep. There's nothing else you have to do, right? So you have at least a couple of minutes. And you can get a lot of repetition out of a couple of minutes. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, however long it takes for you to fall asleep. What am I saying? Fall asleep. So this was the video on SATS. I could probably talk about SATS forever, but the video needs to stop at some point. Make sure to check my last video where I talked about techniques, where again I explain how to know if something works or not. And those are the techniques that you use in SATS. And that is how I combine these two videos. The only thing that you can't do while you fall asleep is scripting. But when you script, you also when you're focused at least, you also fall into the state of this drowsy state. Again, that's a Neville Goddard word about when that he uses to describe the state akin to sleep. So, but yes, apart from scripting, everything else can be done while falling asleep in state akin to sleep, and that's very powerful. I really hope that you will give it a try. Let me know in the comments. And again, once again, for those of you who are completely new to manifestation and you're still figuring it out, let me know in the comments what questions you have, even if you think that this is too simple and you should know it, etc. We are all learning, and we all started there. We all had a lot of questions. We all had a lot of stuff we were confused about and a lot of doubts. Just let me know in the comments, and I will make sure to mention those things in the videos. So, and once again, this was all for today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and see you in the next video.